Good morning, everyone. I'm Richard Lutke, Planning Director. It's my pleasure to give you an update on the Lake District. You may recall the western side of I-35E for about 9 years now has been a concentrated effort to transform that area from a planned industrial park to a mixed-use urban village, and that has been a very heavy lift. But as you can see, there's quite a few projects now that have either occurred or still in the planning process. But we're also excited about the east side of the freeway, where you have Lake Park and the marina all about to undergo a major transformation. So we're tying both sides of the freeway together and have coined the term the Lake District, unifying both sides of that freeway into one community. So we're really excited about that. I'll cover a few of these projects, some highlights here. Number 4 on the map is the Lakeside Crossing project. And that'll be nearly 800 multifamily units, over 200 townhome units, 30,000 square feet of retail and restaurants. The infrastructure is currently under construction, the streets, water, sewer, and drainage. So that is expected to be complete in July of this year. Number 5 will really truly be the village center for the Lake District. And this project's called the Hamptons. It's about 25 acres, and city staff's been working very closely with the developer, who is really pulling together a very impressive mixture of office, medical, hotel, hopefully a grocery store, we got our fingers crossed, restaurants, parks and open space, entertainment. So that will really be the anchor and the hub for that whole area. So we're really excited about that. We are anticipating closing with the developer this coming June. Then number 10, the former Zone Action Park, which has been sitting idle for many years, will be reinvented as Jack's Backyard. I know y'all have seen some of the details on this. Renovations are currently underway and will continue throughout this year. That will include a restaurant, outdoor performance theater, pickleball courts, zip line, and of course renovated putt-putt and go-kart track. And they are expecting phase 1 to be completed sometime in 2025 and phase 2 and sometime in 2026. So that is moving along well. So that'll be a great venue for our community to hang out at once that is complete. And then the newest one, number 11, just recently, we discussed this at a council meeting, is the new specs. That will be a 14,000 square foot retail business, and it's currently going through the development review process. And of course, this is just a listing of the key to all of the projects that are shown on the map. Some additional updates, like I said, we are continuing to work on rebranding the entire area as the Lake District, and you can see the logo is there on the slide on the upper left. We're really excited about that. Already talked about the infrastructure with Lakeside Crossing that will complete the connections of Moccasin Trail between McGee Lane and I-35E. Summit Avenue will also continue northward and intersect with the Moccasin Trail. So some major sections of our thoroughfare network will be completed with that. Last year we completed kind of downsizing, making somewhat more of a complete street with trails, and kind of put it on a road diet with on-street parking to make it more walkable and to provide parking for all the open space. And it's definitely being used, which is the good news, but there's also some other issues that have cropped up. So I'll turn it over to City Engineer David Salmon to give you a few more details about that.
The city manager asked me to address the social media post that came out a couple days ago with regard to the accidents on Summit Avenue. Of course, what we did out there last September has always been intended to be a semi-permanent solution to the parking and the road diet. So it's sort of a first phase pilot project, so to speak. Of course, as Richard indicated, people are using the parking, and of course that's what we wanted. That was the intent. The social media post indicated that there had been quite a few accidents out there over since that painting has been completed, and so I worked with Chief Rollins over the past couple of days, and we've done a very deep dive into the accident data that the city has. Of course, we only have records for accidents that the police were actually called out for, and since September, there's been 10 recorded accidents on Summit Avenue. 5 of those actually happened within the first month after the paint striping occurred, which is kind of what we would expect because of the change in traffic pattern. And then the other 5 have happened since October. Of course, we know that there's probably other accidents that have happened out there that just, where the police weren't called, and they were probably minor fender benders and people just exchanged information or whatever. Our public services department actually just yesterday, in response to that, went out and put up some orange barrels at some of the transition points to make them a little bit more clear. We think what's happening out there based on the data and some of the photos we've seen is that people, when they get into that section of Summit Avenue, I don't think they're realizing that that outside lane is actually for parking. And so looking at some of the photos and some of the cars that have been hit, it looks like people are actually driving in that parking lane thinking that it's a drive lane. And so that's partially what the barrels have been put out there for, is to help delineate that. And of course, obviously, we can't keep those out there for very long. So over the next couple of weeks, our staff is going to be working on a more long-term solution to make sure people understand that that outside lane is actually for parking and it's not for driving. We've got various ideas already being tossed around, but we're going to have to come up with something here in the next couple of weeks to do something a little bit more permanent to kind of clarify, where the drive lane is and where the parking lane is.
I just wanted to, again, remind, and this is I think council knows this is mostly for the public. So the plan for this area, with all of the residential that's coming in, originally had that we were going to put this road on a road diet, right? And it was going to be done in a phased approach, as David has said. So first phase, and let me back up. The intent of that is because this entire development circles or abuts a large green space that is a park. And then there's a phased approach on this park. So there's a cattle pond that's over there as well. And so the intent is also to build a boardwalk around that cattle pond so that it is truly people want to come and visit this green space. We have to go through the Army Corps of Engineers to get that approval because there is mitigation bank requirements on that property, so that has federal restrictions on it. So we are working towards that, ultimately getting those approvals to get that final done. But we're trying to slow walking or driving out there because we want pedestrians to be able to walk across the street. So there has been discussion about this being built to accommodate the multifamily. That is not true. From the very beginning, this has been to try to make this more of a pedestrian-friendly street. Now, with this other information, obviously we want to make sure we're doing this in an appropriate manner. So we've got those barrels up right now, but the ultimate thought originally was pilot program, and then we're going to create bump outs eventually. So where there's trees in these bump outs, and so that it truly feels more like a natural environment. You're slowly driving through this area until you get to the commercial zone that's up at the top, the Hamptons that we're developing. So that has always been the plan. We are looking at other interim measures right now, and we'll be bringing that back as a report to council.
I think the good news on that is the fact that the speed studies show that the speeds have reduced from about an average of 40 down to 35. So it has had a positive impact in that aspect for all the other drivers who are at least paying attention to the markings on the pavement. Some other exciting updates, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers lease. The lease expires April 14th of 2025. And a request for a new lease has been submitted, and it is under review by the Corps, so that's very exciting. And the Lake Park and Marina Master Plan has been completed, and it's the basis for the Blue Ribbon Committee review and the recommendation on the bond election. So moving forward, I've got a pretty good list here of things to look forward to. Construction of additional private developments in the overall area. You'll be seeing an amendment to the ED agreement for Jack's Backyard coming your way soon. We have new kiosks for Tower Bay and the Lake Park day use areas coming soon. Temporary shoreline restoration plans are currently under review, so that'll be moving forward. The total Lake Park redevelopment project, over $18 million, is on the bond election, as I mentioned. The sale of the Hamptons lot to our developer, Russell Glenn, will be coming soon, and the developer is currently negotiating letters of intent for the various uses that I mentioned earlier. We're also submitting the overall Marina Lake Park plan to the Corps of Engineers, and then overall we'll be continuing to implement the overall plan for that whole Lake Park branding. So with that concludes the presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So more good stuff. This is very exciting. I'm going to confess, I've been in the area for 25 years. About 25 years. I've been to the lake just a handful of times. So it doesn't occur to me to go out to the lake. I think this is going to be a great draw to bring people out to the lake. Take tax revenue, reinvest that in the city over and over again. I do want to caution, though, not to staff, but really to anybody who might be listening. I'm going to steal something from James Conkey if he's still sitting around here somewhere. I was doing a tour downtown with James about 6 months ago, and James was telling a story about an old Sonic that used to be on one of the streets that we had to take down, and people were conflating nostalgia with historic significance. So I get that there's a lot of memories for what used to be out here, even though I was a part of them, but this is a great step forward, and it's just more good stuff for the city. So I think this is an exciting project. Excited to see this get further along.
Yeah, obviously this is very exciting. I mean, I've been in that area primarily on the two golf courses there, and somewhat on the lake in a kayak. But this is a great thing coming forward. I think this, right now you go down there, it's pretty much softball, baseball, golf. We've got the campgrounds back there, disc golf, but this brings a whole new level to things. Also with that. Obviously, that the Hamptons is, to me, is a big project. Hopefully they're going to knock that thing out of the park, and we're going to have some different things on that property than we would normally see. So I would say just keep this up. This is just like the mall redevelopment. This is a huge project.
I just wanted to quickly, because Richard mentioned it, but he said it really fast, so I want to make sure that everybody heard what Richard said when he said, when we were talking about the west side of 35, and the conversion of those properties were zoned light industrial, which means, I know this is a big issue because there's a lot of perception that Louisville is the city of warehouses. That's what was going to go there. So the city, a couple of different strategies were used there. One of them was the city bought a piece of property that is kind of right smack dab in the middle of it. But secondly, there's the city has sought out developers who are willing to work with us to do something different, because right now the market says build more warehouses. Because it's profitable, because we all like to shop online, and that brings warehouses. So that is a very hot commodity in the market right now, and the city has been out ahead of that, working with developers to, because that started a long time ago, to remove that LI off the table. And without doing that, even though I think maybe there's, it's just rezoning something, and that was years ago, and so people have forgotten how huge that is. We could have had a whole bunch of warehouses right there. And, you know, the Lake District could still be really cool with all the stuff that we're talking about on the east side of 35, but now we can incorporate this piece on the west side. And that's a huge victory for us. And again, not a sprint, it's a marathon, but this is happening. And also, the city works very hard to try to get grocery stores. There's a lot of market conditions that have been difficult to overcome, but we're trying. And we will continue to try. And we'll see what we come up with. It may happen, it may not. But I just wanted to say thank you to City, and I just want to make sure that we all understand what a big deal that has been.
Yeah, just to reinforce that, going back to the map, that kind of triangular area on the west side of I-35 is 300 acres. That would have been, I don't know how many millions of square feet of industrial. It was not easy. It's still, some of the vacant parcels are still zoned light industrial, and we've got a lot of challenges still ahead of us, but the bigger pieces are moving in the right direction, and I think we'll be very proud of the finished product, and it'll greatly complement what we're doing on the lakeside. I really feel what we've got in this area is truly a hidden gem.
And to kind of add on to what Kristen was saying, a lot of the focus on not having that being warehouses was from the Vision 2025 plan, having a northern gateway. People think that, the city council just, willy-nilly making up decisions. No, this is something that's been in the works for years. And again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that was a very, very time-consuming task to get that from light industrial to get to what we have that's going to be built over there now. So I mean, very time-consuming. I remember that during the pandemic, working through that.
Well, and at the end of it, you had to have a property owner that wanted to work with the city, because if they saw more value the other way, then they absolutely could have kept their entitlements.
Absolutely. I want to say I'm very excited about this lake, as I said before, especially giving people ample opportunities and equal opportunities to enjoy this overlooked asset. I played on those ball fields, and so did Jackie. I played baseball, he played softball. And we had a mini putt-putt. It was huge. And there was actually a restaurant that had the best fries in town at the Cove. And but with time, things evolve. And that's where we've improved since then, because that was 20 years ago, and now we're improving even more. So
The good things are getting better.
With that, we have a video to show you. I think it's a good punctuation on the end of this conversation. So to help with explaining the vision to the public, we went ahead and took our two-dimensional plans that you guys have approved and put it into a three-dimensional. You saw a little bit of it. So we wanted to showcase that here today, and then we will be able to put that out on social media in the future.
Thank you.